"I can't believe you're even showing up for your own birthday," my sister sneered as she shoved the cake into my face, the sticky frosting covering my cheeks while laughter erupted from everyone around us. My name is Emily, and I never expected my own family to humiliate me like this, right in front of friends and relatives. The shock of the moment burned me inside, a mix of embarrassment and disbelief, as I wiped the frosting away, trying to make sense of what had just happened. It wasn't just a prank. It was a statement, a reminder of how little they seemed to care about my feelings. As I stood there sticky and stunned, my heart racing, I realized something important. I had been treated like a joke for far too long, and maybe it was time for that to change. Friends, if you enjoy powerful family drama stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more. This day, which should have been filled with joy and celebration, instead became a turning point, a moment where I began to see the truth about my family and the toxic patterns that had ruled my life. The laughter faded into the background as I processed the humiliation, and I vowed silently to myself that I would never be powerless again. Every detail of the evening, the way my parents didn't intervene, the way my sister beamed with satisfaction, etched itself into my memory. Even now, years later, I can replay that moment and feel the sting of injustice, the weight of favoritism, and the beginning of a slow, careful plan to reclaim my dignity. I noticed for the first time just how calculated my sister's behavior was, how she thrived on attention and control, and how easily my parents enabled it. This realization didn't fill me with anger. It filled me with determination. I would not let this moment define me, and I would not let it happen again. From that night on, every action I took, every thought I entertained, carried the quiet promise of eventual justice. Looking back, I realized my entire childhood had been a series of subtle manipulations, favoritism, and constant reminders that I was somehow less than my sister. My parents never meant to hurt me deliberately, but their actions always seemed to tilt in her favor. Birthday parties, school achievements, even simple dinners, she always received more praise, more attention, more acknowledgement, while my accomplishments were either minimized or ignored entirely. I remember the countless times I tried to speak up, only to be cut off, dismissed, or made fun of in subtle ways. These patterns created a silent tension in our home, one that I learned to endure quietly. I watched her grow bolder as I remained cautious, hiding my frustration and disappointment, trying to avoid conflict while accumulating a quiet, simmering resolve. I noticed early warning signs. She would twist facts, exaggerate stories to make herself look better, and subtly manipulate anyone who might question her. My parents, unintentionally or not, encouraged this by laughing at her jokes while ignoring mine, giving her privileges I never received. Even at family gatherings, her manipulations worked flawlessly. She drew attention to herself while positioning me as clumsy, overly sensitive, or too serious. It hurt deeply, but over time I learned to observe, to study the dynamics, and to plan. I realized that reacting in the moment never helped. Staying silent, while excruciating, allowed me to see patterns others missed. And in those quiet observations, I began to build a strategy, one that relied on patience, evidence, and calculated action rather than emotional outbursts. I started documenting incidents, saving photos and messages, and mentally rehearsing conversations that could expose the truth one day. My sister's confidence, once intimidating, now felt like a roadmap to her vulnerabilities. With every slight, every manipulated situation, I learned exactly how far she would go, and exactly what I needed to reclaim my own power. My patience became my weapon, and every family gathering, every casual conversation, became a subtle rehearsal for the day when I would finally confront the reality of her behavior. The humiliation didn't stop with birthday parties or casual remarks. It escalated in ways I had only feared. One evening, during a family dinner that should have been ordinary, my sister found a way to make me the center of ridicule in front of everyone. She whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Oh, Emily, I guess some people just don't know how to behave in public," and then burst into laughter, dragging everyone into her amusement. My cheeks burned, not just from embarrassment but from the realization that no one seemed to defend me. Not my parents, not relatives, nobody. Every attempt I made to explain or defend myself was subtly twisted, turned into evidence of my overreaction or sensitivity, leaving me trapped in silence. She thrived on this control, smiling smugly as my frustration grew invisible to the world. In private, she continued her subtle manipulations, erasing my work from family projects, claiming credit for things I had done, and planting seeds of doubt about my competence in the minds of those I loved. I began to notice how everyone else, even my friends, unconsciously aligned with her narrative, seeing her as charming and me as difficult. The emotional corner she had me in felt suffocating, but inside a quiet strength began to form. I refused to give her the satisfaction of breaking me, and I began thinking in terms of long-term strategy. Each public humiliation became a lesson. Each manipulated situation became an opportunity to observe, gather information, and plan. I realized that I couldn't control her actions, nor the way my parents reacted, but I could control mine. I became meticulous, recording events, saving messages, and keeping mental notes about how she behaved, what triggered her manipulations, and where her arrogance made her predictable. Though I smiled politely and played the part expected of me, inside I was calculating every move, preparing for the day when the truth would come to light. My sister's confidence, once terrifying, now appeared as an exposed weakness I could exploit, and I understood that patience and precision would be my allies in the battles yet to come. After months of silently enduring her manipulations and public humiliations, something inside me changed. I stopped reacting emotionally and started thinking strategically. I began documenting everything carefully, from her cruel remarks to the way she twisted situations to make me appear incompetent. I took photographs, saved messages, and even recorded small interactions where her lies and manipulations could later be verified. Beyond that, I researched my rights and learned how evidence could be used effectively if I ever needed to involve an authority figure. Every social gathering, every family conversation became a practice ground. I observed her behavior, her triggers, and the people she relied on to reinforce her image, making mental notes on how I could one day turn the tables. I realized that my power wasn't in confronting her immediately, but in building a foundation so solid that when the moment came, there would be no room for denial. I practiced calmness, projecting a neutral exterior while internally strategizing every potential scenario. Slowly, I built a network of people who had witnessed her manipulations but had remained silent, so that when the truth was revealed, it would be corroborated by multiple accounts. Every decision I made, from small daily interactions to bigger choices, was calculated to protect my dignity and position me for eventual justice. For the first time in years, I felt control. Not the fleeting control of dominating a moment, but the enduring control of knowing that when the right moment arrived, the truth would stand unmistakable and undeniable. My patience became my weapon, and my quiet observation turned into a power that my sister could never suspect. I was no longer just surviving. I was preparing to reclaim my life, my voice, and my respect, step by step, carefully and deliberately, until justice was inevitable. The day everything I had meticulously planned finally came together was surreal. My sister walked in, confident and smug as always, completely unaware that the foundation of her carefully crafted world was about to crumble. The tipping point came when I brought all my documentation to the ER doctor, the same one who had treated me after the cake incident. The X-rays and medical evidence confirmed my injuries, and the doctor immediately called 911, not in anger but to ensure the situation was officially addressed. When the authorities arrived, my sister's smug expression faltered, replaced by confusion and fear. I calmly presented the evidence I had been collecting for months. Photographs of her actions, recordings of manipulations, messages that exposed her lies, and witness statements from people who had quietly observed her behavior. Each piece of evidence chipped away at the narrative she had spun for years, revealing a pattern of cruelty, favoritism, and emotional manipulation. My parents, previously oblivious, finally understood the depth of her behavior, their silence now replaced with stunned recognition. Every witness corroborated my account, and my sister's attempts to twist reality failed spectacularly. The room that had once been her stage of control now became the place where her lies unraveled. I felt a profound sense of vindication, not from seeing her punished, but from reclaiming my voice, my dignity, and my rightful place in my family. The power dynamic had shifted completely. The observer had become the orchestrator of truth, and justice, long delayed, had finally arrived. I realized that patience, strategy, and restraint had been my most effective weapons, and in that moment, all the years of humiliation transformed into quiet triumph. In the days and weeks that followed, Life settled into a calm I had not known for years. My sister's manipulations no longer had power over me or over anyone who had witnessed the truth. My parents, now fully aware of the pattern of favoritism and humiliation, began treating me with the respect and consideration that had long been overdue. The sense of relief was overwhelming. I no longer carried the heavy weight of unspoken anger, anxiety, or fear. The relationships that had been strained began to heal, slowly but surely, and I could finally enjoy family gatherings without walking on eggshells. More than anything, I felt a profound sense of moral justice. Every calculated move, every moment of patience and observation, had led to a conclusion that restored balance and fairness. My sister, faced with undeniable evidence and accountability, began to understand the consequences of her actions, and while I didn't relish her discomfort, I recognized the importance of letting the truth stand. I found joy in simple moments, knowing that I had regained my dignity and reclaimed my voice. I had transformed from a quiet, overshadowed observer into someone capable of ensuring fairness and standing up for herself without aggression or drama. Every interaction now carried a sense of empowerment and quiet confidence. I no longer feared being humiliated or dismissed. Life moved forward, not perfectly, but with a clarity and strength that only comes from enduring hardship, observing patiently, and acting decisively when the time is right. In the end, the story that had once been defined by betrayal and cruelty became a story of resilience, intelligence, and justice restored. If you enjoy powerful family drama stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more.